Hi everyone, Richard Neal here from MyWorkpapers. I'm chatting this morning with Dan Crowther from Thorne Widgery in Hereford. Dan, pleasure to speak with you this morning. By way of background, before we introduce you, you are a client of MyWorkpapers, and tell us a bit about yourself and also how you found out about MyWorkpapers.
So we're, as you say, Thorne Widgery based in Hereford, and I've got two offices, another small office in Ludlow. So we've got staff of around 50. Been going kind of 70 plus years. So I guess you could say we've been around a little while. In terms of MyWorkpapers itself, I think we just kind of became aware of you in the circles that we move in terms of we're quite heavily into the tech and innovation side of things. That's something we kind of pride ourselves on, and we just came across you once, what in the normal kind of things that we look at. So once we found you, it was it's then for us a matter of seeing if there's anything that fits with us in the new technology.
Stuck like a leech, mate. Stuck like a leech. So look, just chatting today about the experiences over this COVID-19, I'm seeing some firms putting in some specific packs and bundles on how they're working with their clients and assisting them, giving them guidance, etc. What's Thorne Widgery doing? Have you done anything out of the normal course of business? Have you customized any packages or services you're doing for your clients?
We did. I mean, we class ourselves, I suppose, as an advisory-led firm. So immediately once the kind of pandemic took effect over here, we called every single client. So we called every single client, and with a view to make an action plan with each one. So we've got an action plan with each client. It was initially based on 3 different areas that we built out since then. Some clients have needed more support than others. Some clients have needed emotional support. Some have needed facts and figures and help with kind of cash flows. We've done that with every single client and built that from day one when they started to now. So it's evolved over time, but that's the main thing that we've been doing. So it's not really focused on normal what we call our normal production accounts work. It's more kind of the additional over and above that we've changed.
And have you entered into a fixed fee arrangement, or are you just going to bill them on a time and cost?
So yeah, with our firm, because we have packages with our clients anyway, so they'll be on a package depending on what sort of client they are and what they need. A lot of those packages with us are what we call our advisory packages anyway, because they're covered in that initial arrangement. Actually, we haven't charged for a lot of the work that we've done because it falls really, we found, I know it's over and above and additional compared to what we were expecting to do, but we felt as our practice and what we've built our pricing structure and our relationships with our clients on, we felt actually they deserved that service because they were kind of paying for advisory anyway. So that's how we've done it. I know kind of different firms are taking different stances on that, but we felt that because we kind of built ourselves to be that sort of practice, we felt that we couldn't charge extra for that piece. There have been pieces that we have charged for, so like specific C-bills applications where we've done a lot of additional work. Obviously, we've charged for those individual pieces of work, but the advisory piece itself, we haven't.
Yeah, I suppose it's the type of practice that you have. I know your practice is, what I used to call a millennial practice, but now we're sort of calling it a new normal practice, which is one that is working with their clients, regularly and monthly. But there's a lot of traditional type firms out there, and where they've historically charged at the time of doing the compliance work, year-end accounts or audit work or tax work, and for them, they hadn't made that transition to working with their clients monthly, and they hadn't been promoting the cloud-based bookkeeping systems, and those are the ones that had to scramble a lot. I know you're very proactive in that area of Xero, and working with clients. So for you, probably hasn't been a big deal, but I know for some of our larger clients that haven't transitioned to like what you are in your practice, it has been difficult for them. You know, have you been advising those firms or talking with them and giving them any guidance, or do you sort of network with, you know, birds of a feather flock together, and, you know, you've got your little you know, group of colleagues in the industry that you work similar to?
Yeah, I think a mixture of both, to be honest, Rich. I think I tend to, I've got quite a large network of kind of accountants and people that I speak to just from different things. And yes, I've got kind of a core network of people who are kind of what I would call in a similar position to us, because I guess the accounting sector now is quite collaborative. So we talk a lot to other people to see what they're doing, get their ideas and suggestions on how things are going. So I've got kind of a network of those, but then at the same time, we share quite a lot of what we are doing with, you know, generally in the sector as well. So I've done a couple of talks on, you know, for Digital Accountancy Magazine, in their Facebook group. We kind of have a live chat every week or two, where I've been talking about what we're doing, not just me, other people doing the same sort of thing. And then I was talking at the Accounting and Finance Virtual Summit last week, I think it was now, or a couple of weeks ago. You know, again, sharing ideas on best practices and what we're doing. So yeah, we try to kind of I guess we're looking at this as a kind of the curve of the accounting profession and moving it forwards.
So with your approach to how you work in your practice, are you taking every client, and particularly every new client that comes through a sort of a standardized process that's like a conveyor belt system of this is how you work with our practice? Or, you know, how much of every client in your practice works to a standardized approach in how you work with them? Or are they all unique and they all have their own approach in how you deal with them individually?
That's a really good question, actually. We're trying to standardise as much as possible our work processes and the system, basically the system from when a client starts with us to, you know, the whole life journey of a client. We try to standardise as much as we can, because it helps us as a team work out, you know, whether we're doing the right things or whether we're doing the wrong things. I think a lot of we used to have issues kind of years ago, and I know kind of speak to firms now who have similar issues, you know, where kind of certain people within the team will do things one way and other people within the team will do it another, and that's really difficult from our perspective, because you could get a different view of Thorne Widgery or a different opinion of Thorne Widgery depending on which person looks after you. So you could get a really good view or a really bad view because of the way that you've been dealt with. So we've tried to make it what we call the TW way, so that everything is as standard as possible, but not too standard that is inflexible for what a client's needs are. So we have different packages depending on what a client wants. But they will follow a slightly different journey compared to another client.
So how do you document that, and how do you document that workflow that you want to take that client through the journey? Do you do that through a paper-based checklist or an online checklist? And you know, WorkPapers has a tasks area where you can take clients through that. You know, how do you document the workflow and have those checkpoints to make sure that if you want to come behind and do a health check on how a client was treated?
Yeah, we take it, so the production, so the bit that we use MyWorkpapers for, the production bit, I'll come on to, but when we initially, so if we take the life journey of a client, we take, first step is we talk to them and find out what it is they're looking for. And with every client, we've got a level of 3 different service levels that, you know, that we speak about initially to see where they fit and what fits them. Obviously that, depending on which one, is price sensitive as well, but it depends how much support and help they need. So those service levels from that point then build out that life, what that client looks like. And they build that out only for 1 year though, because we also recognise that clients go on the journey as well. So it may be that one thing that's relevant for them now may not necessarily be relevant for the next year. So we, again, at the end of every kind of 12 months with the client, we again discuss whether that's the right journey for them, or whether we need to change things. The things that come out of that package that what we record, we have kind of jobs set up within our kind of system. So we use to run our practice management software. We use Zero Practice Management, or XPM. So we build all of our jobs, and everything relating to that client that needs to be done goes into that software. So it's all date sensitive, so we know what needs to be done, what needs to happen when. That's allocated to our team, and our team can look at that, and so they know every month what they've got to do, for which specific client. So that's why we make sure nothing gets missed on that. Within each individual job, there's tasks, so we know exactly how that job needs to be dealt with, by who, how long it should take. And one of those jobs will be kind of the accounts production job, which is what then feeds into MyWorkpapers, because everybody uses MyWorkpapers to be that part of the job.
Okay. So when lockdown eases, and I know I'm working through the process now of return to office, and are you going through that process yourself now? And in going through that process, what are you considering?
So you mean kind of differences
software,
going forwards?
Yeah, particularly with software. And are you looking at making any changes to your practice?
It's a very timely question to it, and we are, so at present we are literally working through, so we've all been working from home since the start, and we've been quite fortunate because of the tech that we have, that we haven't had to really worry too much about that, to be honest. So the tech itself, there was nothing that we needed to change. The only thing that we need to change, we need to do more meetings like this, and more Zoom meetings and things, which obviously we're doing more face to face, but other than that, the tech was there. So when we go back, and which we're looking at now, we're looking at, okay, should we be in the office? I've been speaking to different people about this, I think Facebook and Google, for instance, have said we're not going back till 2021. So that's what somebody told me yesterday. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I've heard. But there's different views on, should we get back in as soon as possible? Actually, should we not? Actually, if everything's working as our practice needs it to be, do we need to get back in really quickly? We're going to take kind of probably somewhere in the middle of that, where we're going to get some people back and have some part presence to start with. In terms of where that leads us for the future, and kind of what changes are we going to make ongoing, I think there's definitely some things, the positives that we can take out of this. Our feeling on it, or my feeling personally, is that our team has been great throughout this, and actually because of the way that we've handled it and the way we've got teams to work together, I actually feel our team is probably closer knit than when they were all in the office. And also, not only that, I feel like our relationship with our clients is probably better than it was prior to the pandemic as well. So there's some real positives to take out of it. Changes to tech, I haven't got any that I'm kind of desperately thinking we really need to change this, because actually the tech was there in the first place. We've been more reliant on it because we're not, things like Zoom we're a lot more reliant on, but we had that anyway. So there's probably some tweaks, but no overall large scale changes. Things we're thinking about, honestly, is, are we going to make working from home more of a norm? We had the ability to do it beforehand, but are we going to embrace that, so that perhaps we don't need as much office space, or perhaps we don't need as a base of an office as traditionally thought of? I think we'll always need some sort of space there, just for working together and collaboratively and things. But does it need to look in the same stance as it used to? So that's something that's going to be an interesting thing. The other thing that I think we're looking at is, does it let us have has the way that this has changed how we interact with our clients? Can we have a bigger geographic reach if we don't necessarily need to see clients quite so often? We've managed this whole time without, the last 3 months without seeing a client. So does that change our model about how we push our business forwards?
Yeah, I think there's the opportunity for people like you that are proactive in technology, and to spread your wings and not be stuck to your demographic area. And look, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the firms start evolving out and crossovers. And there's particular network firms that stay within like a postcode area. So I guess the challenges for them and others like them going forward is going to be interesting. And in terms of your top clients, so just coming to your clients, what do you think will happen to that top 80% that generates, well, the top 20% of your clients that generate 80% of your revenue? Do you think they're going to be significantly impacted in your area? Because you said a significant portion of your big clients are now in your demographic area. Do you think they're going to be impacted significantly or severely with COVID-19?
I think so. With what we did, we tried to assess how big an impact there has been on all of our clients, and we did that from day one. And obviously, when we started making the calls, our biggest clients, the most important clients to us, as well as kind of the ones that are most effective, were top priority for us to make sure that we were helping them as much as possible. So with those, we try to encourage them to focus on the things they can do, not just close down and hope for the best. So the larger ones have kind of taken the action that is, the best action they possibly can, as we feel. So we've helped guide them through that. So they've been pretty proactive in kind of how they've managed their business. In terms of, is it going to affect them? I think every business has been affected, like every person has been affected by this. So yes, there's going to be an effect. I think in terms of going forwards, we're talking about potentially quite, well, depending on what you believe, but then potentially quite a harsh recession and long recession following this. So undoubtedly, there's going to be some casualties. We just need to make sure we're doing everything we can to help, the businesses that we work with come out the other side of that. And we've done a lot of planning. So we've made sure that cash flow is the best that we can make it. We've made sure certainly for the important clients, that they've got everything that, loans, the right loan, the right amount of loan, to make sure that they're covered going forward. So I think, to answer your question, everybody's going to be affected. The bigger clients, the smaller clients, they're all going to be affected in some way. And ultimately, I think we will lose some. Like, we've been talking about this, and we anticipate as a firm that we will lose some businesses. Our stance on that is we want to make sure we've done everything we possibly could have to make sure that there's the least amount of those as possible. But it's like anything in a recession, some businesses disappear. So we're just trying to work to make sure that's the ones that we work with are as best protected as they possibly can be.
Yeah, look, it's going to be interesting times, and I think like you, being in touch with your clients and the finger on the pulse, you're going to be pretty clear and have an understanding. And I think what will happen is that I think you'll attract the type of clients or the type you want going forward as well. One of the firms I was speaking to, I think last week, they're going through this the process of looking at their client base and taking it as a time to say, how do we carve off and actually create a separate business unit to deal with the type of clients, not cast them astray or cast them, and let them float away, but put them to a specific business unit that will deal with that type of client, that will do the type of support and work for them that client needs. But they're not the type of clients that they want going forward.
Right.
Look, every firm's got its own strategy based on the type of client base they've got, and also the type of clients that they've attracted. Because again, a lot of firms that I know of also have targeted specific industries or vertical markets, and that's opened up their eyes on how they go forward, and do they diversify their client base to ensure they're not exposed going forward. Look, great talking to Dan. Could talk about a lot more things. We'll cut this one now and talk again soon.
Good to talk to you, Rich. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye-bye.